Okay, so today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make your own enchilada sauce. It is so easy, it's crazy, and once you figure out how easy it is, you'll never buy that canned stuff or the stuff in the package again. So what you do is you start with getting your oil in your pan and you start getting it warmed up really good. Now when your oil gets warm enough, it'll kind of shimmer a little bit and you'll be able to kind of feel the heat off of it. Be very careful when you're doing that. So what you want to do is get your oil heated up really good, and then this is something I do that's different than the recipe that I'm going to give you the link for, is I like to put a little bit of onions in mine just because it gives it a little kick, but you don't have to. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in very carefully. I think I use like 1/4 cup of white onions, or no, these are yellow. And I just start moving them around a little bit. Now again, the recipe I'm going to give you, they don't use onions in theirs, but I do, so. Alright. What you want to do is, if you're going to use onions, just kind of let them get kind of cooked and soft. You don't want hard onions in it. So we'll let those cook for just a minute and get soft, and then we're going to go on with the directions from where the recipe starts that I'm going to put on the blog and on the comments too. Onions smell so good when they're cooking. Okay, so those are kind of getting a little soft, and you can let them get as soft or, you know, as uncooked as you like, whatever your preference for onions is. They'll cook when they get in the oven too. So this is where the recipe that I'm giving you kind of takes off from. So they put the olive, you know, get your olive oil heated up. Then you add the tomato paste. Alright, that's 1/4 cup. And you just kind of want to let it cook just a little bit, and you'll get that kind of raw taste that tomato paste has. Alright, so we got that going. Now we're going to add the flour. And just kind of shake it over it. And that's 1/4 cup of flour. You can get the exact ingredients and list on the recipe too. So what I do is I move it around for just a little bit because you want it just to kind of cook, just like if you were making gravy. You want it to just move around just a little bit. Then you want to add your spices. Just keep moving it around because you do not want it to burn, but you want it to kind of cook just a little bit. It smells really good. Wish I could get smell-o-vision. Well, maybe not, because there are some smells you don't want to smell. Alright. So all you want to do is let this cook for basically like a minute or so. A little bit less, a little bit longer, whatever you... It's not an exact science. Alright, now, here comes the part where you have to whisk like crazy. And it'll have some lumps in it, it'll be fine. No one's going to go, oh, that's lumpy sauce, you don't know how to do it. Alright, so what you want to do is, let's see if I can do this. Just start whisking it in. Now, if the lumps bother you, you can always put this in a blender and blend it up and make it really nice and smooth. But if you kind of keep whisking, you'll move a lot of those lumps out. And when you put it over your sauce, you're not going to really see the lumps anyway. And especially when it comes out of the oven, you're not going to see them. But some people are particular about lumps, I guess. Obviously, if you do see any big spots, just kind of squish them with your whisk. I'm sure that's the technical term for it. Gets it pretty good. Now, all you have to do from here is just kind of keep slowly stirring every once in a while, and it will start to thicken up. It'll take about 8 minutes to kind of thicken up, give or take a little bit. Now what I do while this is thickening up is I go ahead and start my filling that I'm going to put in the enchiladas. It kind of allows it just to thicken up. Alright. Alright, so we'll let that thicken up just a little bit, and we can go over here. And what I'm going to do in this back pan is go ahead and get my filling for the enchilada started. So I went ahead and turned on the oven. I'm starting to get it a little hot. And I'll put in just a little bit of olive oil. If you're watching your cholesterol or need to watch your fats or anything, feel free not to put the oil in. You'll probably hear me over here stirring every once in a while. Okay, so we're going to let that get hot, and then we're going to throw in all of our ingredients. Now, something I do that's different is I put a couple different things in my enchiladas. Whatever is in my fridge basically is what I kind of throw in. The recipe I give you uses black beans and corn, and I use that, and I love that recipe. It's great. But every once in a while I have something that I need to kind of use up, so I'll just throw it in this, or I'll throw it in the chili. But since we are making enchiladas, I will be making enchiladas today. Okay, so I'm going to make sure our olive oil kind of coats that pan. Alright, so we're going to do kind of the same thing with the oil and the onions here. And I'm going to put these onions in before it's really hot so they don't jump up and splatter me. Now what I'm adding is some onions and some mushrooms, and I have some zucchini. Well, I have some zucchini. I had one zucchini that was getting ready to go bad. It had some bad spots on it, so I just cut up the parts that were still good, and I'll throw it in here and saute it. I'll just start to get that warm and get that cooked. Now I do like to throw a little bit of cumin in just on top of that, just so it cooks. Remember, if you're doing this same time, always come back every once in a while and kind of stir your enchilada sauce. And I don't know if you can tell from the picture or not, but it's starting to thicken up really good, which is what we want. Alright, so let's jump back over here. Kind of stir these around just a little bit. I'm not going to really cook them, I just kind of want to get them a little bit softer before I put them in the oven and bake them. Now I can tell it's starting to get a little warm. Alright, let that go. I'll stir the enchilada sauce again. And I'd like to thank my daughter Sydney for helping me today with the filming. She makes it a lot easier to do this because I have both hands. I'm actually very surprised that you don't hear my other two kids. One's playing with Play-Doh, and the other is playing with Lego, so hopefully they'll be happy and let me finish this up. Alright. So, now we're getting really good. Alright. So you can tell it starts to kind of bubble a little bit. It does, you can kind of turn your heat down just a little bit. If you have any messes that have jumped out. Alright. Let's come back over here so you can probably hear it really going good now. And again, all I'm doing is just trying to get my onions and my zucchini just to get a little softer. Again, the recipe I gave you doesn't use onions, doesn't use zucchini, or didn't use mushrooms. I just had it, so I wanted to throw it in because it was going to go bad within the next day or two. So I thought, well, I'll just throw it in. Alright. So we'll whisk a little bit more. And the only reason you really have to kind of keep whisking is because you don't want it to burn on the bottom of your pan. If it does, and when you pour it all out, it looks like a little burned on the bottom, just throw some water in it and let it soak for a little bit. It'll come right up. Okay, so what I want to do is take a little bit of cilantro. Okay, that's a lot because we like cilantro. And put that in with it. I'm going to go ahead and pour the other. Now this is the black beans and the corn. I did not have spinach because I forgot to put it on the grocery list, so I just went out and cut some kale. Because I kind of try to use what I have instead of running back out to the store to grab it, because that's the way you will blow your food budget really quickly. I've done it quite a few times. So if I don't have something, I just kind of look and see what I have that I can kind of switch with it. And I had this kale growing in my garden, so I just went ahead and cut some of it and used it. All we're going to do is just kind of let everything kind of melt together. And plus this will make the kale kind of wilt down just a little bit. Quick clean it up. Now, I did have some green onion that I wanted to, that I added into. I don't know if it was 6 like the recipe called for, but I just grabbed it and kind of sliced it up and put it in there. So, we'll just kind of let all of that cook for just a minute or two. You don't want it to get real wilty or real cooked. You just want it to get softer. And as you can see, the enchilada sauce is just about perfect. And if it looks a little wilty, not wilty, I was thinking about the kale. If it looks a little watery, just let it cook a little bit longer. Remember, you're just going to be pouring it over the enchiladas anyway, so but you can tell it's kind of getting starting to get a little bit thicker. Alright, let's turn this around just a little bit. Now I will tell you, these, the black bean and corn enchiladas, the recipe that I give you on my site, and these two are very, very filling. And that's the really cool thing about it, because you can make a pan of them and just eat 1 or 2 and then you're stuffed. So you'll have leftovers, which is great. I love leftovers for lunch the next day. Alright, so you can see that the kale is starting to kind of get a little wilted looking. That's really what you're looking for. Then you want to make sure if there's any liquid down on the bottom that it's kind of cooked off so your enchiladas don't get too wet, I guess. Alright. So that's good on that. Oh yeah, here we go. Now all I'm doing is just letting it get a little bit thicker. There we go. That's doing really good. So all you're going to do after this point is you turn it off, let it cool off for just a little bit. You go ahead and you take your filling, you wrap your enchiladas, put them in a pan, you pour this sauce over it. Throw some cheese on it if you want to. You can actually throw some cheese in here. I use the vegan cheese, the Go Veggie cheese. I like it. It cuts down on some of the cholesterol and fat and stuff if you use that instead of dairy cheese. But that's about it. Roll up your enchiladas, throw your sauce over it, and you're good to go. Throw it in the oven, and you've got a really great filling meal. You can serve this with Mexican rice, which I'm getting ready to put the recipe out on the site. You can serve it with chips and salsa. I have a great salsa recipe called Jeremy's Famous Salsa Recipe on my site. That's really good if you want to get some tortilla chips and salsa to go with it. That's good too. Or you can slice up some fruit and vegetables or a nice salad. Whatever your family likes, that's what you should do. Alright, so I'll turn this off and then I will roll up my enchiladas and pour my sauce over it. I hope you guys saw how easy this was to do. I mean, it literally took, I think, what, maybe 10 minutes. I'm not sure how long this video is, but it doesn't take long to do, and you've got a great meal. It's easy to make. It's filling. You can spice it up or spice it down, or I guess take the heat out of it if you want to, whatever works for your family. So that's it. Just a matter of 20 minutes or so, and you've got a great meal to put together. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment on my site and let me know, or send them to me on Facebook, and I'll try to get back to you. So I think that's about it. Happy cooking!